Hi guys, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm going to be scrapbooking the end of June in my Project Life album. And so I have the remains of the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit for June. And I've already used it in my previous Project Life process video that would have been prior to this one. And so what you see on the screen there over to the right is a pile of all of the leftovers. There are 3 wood veneer, a couple of chipboard stickers, regular stickers, and some cards. And so my goal is to use these up today because these may be my last June pages. Now, in my last process video, I put those photos aside thinking that they might be an insert on my second set of pages. My last set of pages did have an insert that was all the photos related to my daughter's birthday. And so I thought I might use all those photos related to some home improvements that we did as a separate insert. But as you can see, the photos for this spread are actually pretty sparse. And I guess I could have gone into my photos and printed up some memories from the last couple of days. I think this goes up until maybe like the 25th of June. So it's not absolutely to the end, but it's almost. So I could have added a couple of more memories and then done the insert as I planned. But what I decided to do instead is just pull down some of those photos from our home improvement projects and just capture them within the regular spread. So here I am just taking a look at the cards that are left and thinking about how I might be able to use them. I would really rather use these up than have them left over, especially where some of them are quite seasonal, and so I might not get a chance to use them again until the following June or at least the following summer, unless if, you know, those summer ones I could carry over into the August pages as well. So the way I'm laying these out is sort of trying to think about how I'm going to tell the stories. As you can see, there are way too many photos on the right page and not enough on the left page at this point. And also, it doesn't make good chronological sense this way. So I'm going to spread things out a little bit more. That'll allow me to put like those two, the assembly of the furniture and the calyx unit in my basement, those were all kind of on the same day. So those ones all go together. That would be that whole bottom, the 2 bottom pockets of the left-hand page. And so I just took out this is a close to my heart storage. It's the medium storage unit. They actually don't sell these anymore, but these were perfect for storing Project Life. And I've decided to use these instead of the other inserts that I was using. I think they were called Antonius units that I was using in my Razcog. So now I have this in my Razcog. And I did have to cut the lid off of it. I was hesitant to do that, which is why I wasn't using it all along, but I really don't like the lid. The lid makes it cumbersome to use. So I just cut it off with regular scissors. I can show it in more detail in an upcoming video. If people are interested in that, just let me know. Leave me a comment. So I am starting with my Ali Edwards branded 3x4 cards because they all tend to work well together. So that's my first drawing point. But I could only fill in so many of the gaps with those. So now I'm going by color. And what seems to be emerging here is a real orange and green theme. So I thought I would look to my orange and green cards. I do keep my cards all sorted by color. You can see the little tabs. And again, I'm thinking about just doing a Project Life specific video. I know I did show some of this storage, although it's changed a bit since then, in my Razcog tour video. So you can see some of how I have this set up in that video if you'd like to check it out. So as you can see, I'm just trying to make sure that I have cards for everything before I get started. That's always my way of doing it is I kind of spread the photos and the cards across my templates, and then I start scrapping basically card by card after that. So now I feel like I have the structure, and I am going to be using a couple of those snap photo flips. Those are pockets that you kind of attach on top of another pocket to flip up, and I've been making good use of those lately, and so I thought I would do that. I did a little switch there. I thought that first card that was on those 2 Animal Crossing photos was a little bit too bold, and it was an example of taking away from the story. So I went with this more subtle card, which I really adore. It's that mint green on the top, and then a really nice tight black and white stripe. And because it's so tight and thin, it's not as bold as the other one that was that kind of really bold plaid in black and white. So this is a really cool card that I really like, but my it's overexposed here. I'm trying to show it. It looks like paint dripping off the edges of it, and I really, really love it, but you'll have to check out the photos at the end to really see it because my camera isn't doing it justice here. So there's that photo that I really like, or not that photo, but the card that I really like. I'm using it for those Animal Crossing photos, and now I'm just using my journaling template. It's from hot off the press. If you can find one used, or if you have one floating around your scrap room from a long time ago, pull it out and use it. It's so helpful for project life. I can't believe how long I had that without using it. I used it a lot at the beginning, and then it somehow found its way out of my circulation, but I really, really use it a lot lately, and I love it. So this is one of the Ali Edwards cards. I think this might be from a previous kit. This is one of the ones that I drew out from the other cards, maybe, or maybe it's one of this month's kit. I can't remember. Anyhow, it says self-care and how I'm currently taking care of myself. And I just wrote, starting my days with 20 to 30 minutes of coffee, news, Colbert, and Animal Crossing. This week, villager Carrie moved out to make room for Dom. I will miss her gentle character, but Dom is so hilarious. I need his antics on Malarkey. And Malarkey is the name of my island. So if you don't know Animal Crossing, none of that probably made any sense to you, but I just kind of thought that I wanted to remember some of the evolution of my island as it goes by, because I'm not sure how long Animal Crossing is even going to be a hobby of mine. For now, I'm really enjoying it, so I thought I'd document it in case it doesn't, in case someday I think, what was that again that I was doing? So I'm just looking at my Lawn Fawn ink here, and last week I had pulled out Fish Tank and Bubblegum as my two ink colors that I was using. This time I pulled out Mermaid and Fake Tan to go with that kind of mint green and orange color scheme. That just, I didn't plan that, it's just the way the cards came out. It was one of those things that the cards just did for me. One of the benefits of using a kit is that you don't have to really think about color schemes. They just kind of come already decided for you. So I just took one of those Jen Scow stamps that has all the arrows in it, and I picked one and used it just to indicate that that story goes with those photos. That awesome stamp set, by the way, by Jen Scow is called Big High Five, and it's awesome. It's one of my favorites of hers. So as you can see now, I'm working on this story that has a lift the flap, but basically I would like the photo to be underneath of another card. So I just cut, I thought that this card had too much white on it. In general, this layout has a lot of white, so I'm just kind of trying to moderate that by cutting off. I really liked that orange circle that says unplanned moments are great. It fits with the story I want to tell here. And I like that this card I picked just accidentally. I thought I was picking a gray card, but it happens to have that mint green on the other side. So I'm just going to use it as a double-sided card here and slip it in my flippity pocket. And I'm saying we dropped Liv off at Aisha's house on the hottest day of the year, a spontaneous stop at Canadian Tire, and we had a cool tub for Sophie to lounge in. I'm going to underline that so it looks anchored on my page, and then I'll slip it into the pocket. First, I have to do some erasing of just my little guidance lines there, and I just want to make sure that there's no ink on my eraser before I do that, because I do use my eraser to prime my stamps as well. And so I like how this looks, and I'm thinking about adding a little wood veneer here just to kind of spruce it up a little bit and give it a little bit of detail. So I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive, which is my favorite adhesive for gluing non-paper to paper. So this wood veneer will stick very well to the paper and probably never, ever, 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 ever come off. And as you can see, this flippity flip is coming along great. Now I have this stamp that says Let's Do Summer, and it came in the Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards, which is the kit I'm using most of the products from today. And I decided to use my Mama Elephant, orange ink. It's called Orangeade. And I can't remember if I've used this before now or if I'm just pulling it out now. But I had pulled out those other inks, and they're dye inks, and I just wanted some, in this case, I wanted the ink to sit on top of the paper instead of sinking in. I thought that it would mix a little, the colors would mix a little bit less, and it would help the orange pop out from the green. I didn't want it to look too brown on top of the green. And so as you can see, I did multiple stamps there using my Mini Misty tool, and that allowed me to stamp it perfectly every single time without having to worry about alignment or anything. And it did take several stamps to get it that nice vibrant orange that I was looking for. I really like the look. And so pigment ink sits on top of the paper, whereas dye ink kind of sinks in a little bit. Therefore, the pigment ink usually stamps a little bit crisper than dye ink. And I'm just adding a little embellishment to that photo that says more outside and less inside. And now I'm going to move on. So right beside that one, I'm thinking that these two cards will tell the same story. So the journaling will go on that floral card in the bottom part, and then my photo, and I'll do some labels or something on the photo right beside it. Now, this was our anniversary dinner. We typically go out alone together to a bit of a nicer restaurant for our anniversary, but because this was on the heels of the COVID shutdown, the COVID-19 shutdown, and restaurants had only been open for just a very few weeks, this was our very first time in a restaurant since March. And so we were very cautious about it, but also we were mindful that we didn't necessarily want to leave the kids home and go to a restaurant without them after they too had been, several months without going anywhere. So we decided to include them. Also, it was Father's Day, so it kind of made sense that we would celebrate both and all as a family. And also, our very favorite restaurant that we typically go to for our anniversary had not opened yet. I hope it reopens. Oh my goodness, I've got my fingers crossed. So many small businesses are just not able to reopen at all and just calling it quits. So let's hope that my favorite Il Mercato restaurant does not do that. So as you can see, I spelled out 17th anniversary. I was kind of thinking, what anniversary is it? I kind of thought it might have been our 14th anniversary. And then a combination of math and my daughter informed me that it's actually the 15th. She's 15. We were married for 2 years before that, so that means it's our 17th anniversary. Somehow I lost track of the years. But time flies when you're having a good time, right? So I just took a couple of these Kelly Perky label stickers that come from various kits over the years, and I am labeling them together, as you can see. Not labeling them, I'm layering them together, and just making that last one look like it's tucked underneath, even though it's not. I just snipped it off to the side. And now, again, to add to the layered look, I'm going to stamp, but make it look like the stamp disappears under the other label. So in order to do that, I'm just going to mask this off so that the stamp doesn't stamp onto that label that's supposed to look like it's layered on top, if that makes any sense. Now, the stamp set that I'm using right now in this part is called Eating Out. It's from Kelly Perky. And I'm adding the dinner time and another little, so the first one was the fork and spoon and knife, and then this one says dinner time, and then I'm adding this little kind of platter on a hand. But again, I kind of stamped it off the page to make it look like it was there before I added those labels, which it wasn't, but that's okay. Now I want to use this I-8 here, which is also from the same stamp set, but I'm only going to ink up the square, not that little arrow that points off of it, because it's not pointing to anything relevant, so I didn't feel the need to have an arrow there. So I'll just cut off the edge of that little label, and then there we have all the decor that I need on that. Decor? That's for a home, isn't it? I have all the decorations or embellishments that I need on that photo. I'm using my journaling template once again to add some lines to this, and I have just different lines that I use for wider spaces than what I normally use for my narrow spaces. And so I'm just writing here, Father's Day fell on our anniversary this year, and with the economy opening up, we donned masks and went to Eastside Mario's for a pasta dinner. Now we don't have masks on in the picture because we're eating at that point. Once we got seated in our seats, they were spacing everybody pretty far apart. And so, and all of the waiters and waitresses had masks, so we obviously can't eat with a mask on, but we felt safe in there. They were doing a very, very good job. I just outlined around the circle on that one just to give it a little bit more weight over on that side because of the heavy black stickers, letter stickers on the other side of that one. And by the way, I use those letter stickers, those tile letter stickers, because of the boldness of the pattern in the background. I think any shaped letter sticker would not have held up well in terms of that it would have gotten lost in the jumble of that beautiful but very intricate design on the card. So here I have these two photos of the ceiling fans, and I'm doing a bit of journaling here on this card that came from my stash, from my green stash of cards. And I'm just writing, it's been so hot we decided to get ceiling fans for the main living area and our bedroom. We found some fairly modern ones at Kent and Scott installed them so they work with our smart home system. And now again, dipping into that stamp set from the Stories by the Month June kit, I'm going to use the Loving stamp. This is one of my favorite stamps in the whole set. It probably is my favorite stamp in the whole set. I struggle with using the 3x4 stamps. I find that they're easy to forget, and I don't like looking to find stamps on such tiny little cards, but this is one that I can see myself using again and again and again because it's just so versatile and I love the font. As you can see, my pigment ink, again I used pigment ink there again, so that's that Orangeade ink by Mama Elephant. And it does leave a bit, it doesn't really stain your stamps, but your stamps are hard to clean afterwards, so you can see a bit of orange residue. That's not a stain, it's just I haven't thoroughly cleaned it enough. I'm using baby wipes, so if I had my stamp chamois, I'd do a better job. So now I would like to embellish both of these photos. And so I have this and then you can put the room in the blank. And this is from the Kelly Perky MySpace stamp set from 2018. And so it includes this little block that says in the with a blank, but then it also has all these words like bathroom, kitchen, office, backyard. And so I'm using living room and bedroom. And living room for some reason is two different stamps. So I have to stamp room and then I have to stamp living. And with these, I'm using the dye ink from Lawn Fawn. So it's that fake tan dye ink that I had pulled out at the very beginning. As you can see, that's a little bit of a darker orange than the Orangeade that I've been using in other places, but it is orange and I like that. Basically, I was not feeling very patient in terms of waiting for pigment ink to dry in this case, so I just went ahead and used the dye ink because it just absorbs right into the paper and dries pretty instantly, or almost instantly anyways. And so I'd like to place these about in the center of both of these photos. So I did line my photo up with my grid mat just to help me eyeball it. I find that sometimes my brain gets confused if the lines are going in all different directions like that, like I just demonstrated. So I try to keep things lined up, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it isn't always perfect. It usually isn't perfect, but it does help it be more likely to be straight. So these two are going to go together as well, even though the journaling might end up kind of being different than what the picture seems like it is. So this is a picture of an iced coffee that my daughter made for me. She's very into iced coffee, so whenever she brews up a little bit too much, she always gives me her kind of her overflow coffee. And she dressed it up with chocolate syrup and all sorts of yummy frothy milk there. And it was a delicious little treat. So I'm using again that Orangeade pigment ink to make a nice crisp and also very bright orange look to it. And I just misstamped there because I used a block instead of my Misty tool. And so I'm using my Misty tool now to restamp it. And that's just on a piece of white scrap paper from my stash. And I thought maybe the magnet was interfering with getting a proper stamp there, so I just moved the magnet, and sure enough, it stamped clear. And so now I'm just going to go to, and you can see there the difference between multiple stamps and one and just one. So it's very, very light. Now I took that one off to my punch rails so that I could try to find some punches that are going to be closer in size. So this one is too big. This one is too small, so that's 1 inch. The other one is 1 7/16, I think. This one is 1 1/4, and it's not perfect, but it'll do. I would rather have a bit less white edging on it, but to not have to fussy cut around it, I'm good with the edge being big like that. I am going to make this look like it's flowing off the page, so I'm just going to position it like that, and then trim off the edge. I really like that. And then I'm just adding another sticker here. Pardon me, I'm losing my voice a little bit today. It says Summer Joys and it's in gray. And that just kind of picks up on, there's going to be a lot of circles all over this page. And I'm kind of having a sense of that, even though I haven't finished embellishing yet. I just I know what I have to work with here. And so I know that it's going to end up being a lot of circles. So might as well go big or go home, right? So under garden updates here, it says the grass in our yard is still a problem, but we have big plans for the backyard this year. Hopefully a hot tub and some landscaping. And then I have summer bucket list. That piece of chipboard is you saw me pick it out. And then I also left some spacing on my lines so that there's a little gap there without any journaling where that little summer bucket list piece of chipboard is going to go perfectly. Right there. So even though the photo is mostly about the coffee, the background is the yard, and so I thought that those two went pretty well together. I thought about adding some circles to this one, but I decided against it. There are circles on it already, as the ceiling fan is a circle. So, or the lights on the ceiling fans are circles anyways. So I'm just familiarizing myself with the embellishments here because it looks like this second page is done now. I haven't done the first page yet, but the second page is done. So I thought I would just look and see what other embellishments I have. So this one says loving this. So I thought I'd put that on the Animal Crossing card. I'll slip this into its pocket flip flop, whatever it's called. I will find out the name of that product. It is called Photo Flip Pockets by Snap, which is a subset of Simple Stories, like a sub-brand. I don't know what you call that. There's the packaging right there if you need to know what it looks like. And so as you can see, I have moved on to the second page now, and starting with the one that kind of seems to be the easiest to scrap, which is this one with the news stories. So I am making this into a flip the flap just because the first photo has just the headline and kind of like a cute photo, but the back, that black one that's going to be underneath from Twitter, that one has more of the details of what that headline really means. So it says Premier Stephen McNeil says Nova Scotia is bursting the bubble and groups of 10 no longer have to socially distance. He says group sizes are now being increased to 50, but they will have to practice social distance. And he adds that playgrounds are also going to open today. So our province has had, well, at the time of this recording, now we have had more cases, but we had, I think, 2 weeks or 16 days of 0 new cases, and all of the cases had resolved. Pardon my gray hair. It's like I haven't dyed it in a while. Anyhow, we were feeling really great about that and celebrating, and the government was relaxing some of the restrictions. We have had a few cases since then, but all of the cases were with people who were already self-isolating before they realized they had the virus, so there has been no community spread. We have 3 cases now. So this says, on this card that says finding my own way through this season, I'm just writing a little bit about my return to work and all of the practice guidelines that I had to follow, how it was a really big undertaking, and we had to replace the couches with leather sofas and put 6-foot markings on the floor and hand wash stations and signage and buy special cleaning solutions and change the waiting room chairs and decrease the seating, and all sorts of things had to be done. And so just talking about all the things that had to be done. And I mean, one of the silliest rules that I think is that we're not allowed to stop anywhere on the way to or from work. So I have to be careful about my gas tank, making sure that it's filled on my days off, because I can't stop and get gas on my way to work in case I pick up the virus and bring it to my patients, because it's all about making sure that we are providing a safe space, which I completely understand and agree with. But we seem to be the only ones who have to do that. I've spoken with physicians and dentists and massage therapists, and none of them have to do that. But that's what happens when psychologists write their own rules. They tend to be nitpicky about rules. And so here we are. I'm just looking for some embellishments to put on this photo of Jana and me in the office. And we've got this. I thought that, so I went into the Progress kit, which is another Ali Edwards kit. It's the Story kit, which is the more expensive of the two kits that she has. I'm drawing a stamp. It says One Step at a Time, and also the You Got This. It's like a little pleather piece of piece of plastic or something with You Got This phrase on it. It's really, really cute. And it kind of ties together, especially if I use this ink. So let me find the color of the ink. This ink is Ocean by Mama Elephant. It's also pigment, and so it wasn't giving me exactly the color that I wanted. So my last layer of it was the Mermaid by Lawn Fawn, and that did the trick. It made it just the perfect color of like a bluey green, which is what I wanted. It looks good with the background paint on the photo. As I was saying, I dipped into the Progress kit, which is a story kit from Ali Edwards. It is a little bit more expensive than the Stories by the Month, and the Progress kit came out sometime between March and June, because that's only how long I've been subscribing to the Ali Edwards kits. So I can't tell you which month, but it's one of those, and it's a good kit. And I also have the stamp set that goes with that kit as well. I already have a bunch of stories to tell with that kit, but I haven't actually used it yet. So again, with the journaling template and writing some lines for my routines card. So on this card, I'm just writing, we bought some furniture for our bedroom and the workout room. Having less clutter helps us stick to our daily routine. I kind of had to tie it into the title card. I did my first sentence, and then I was like, oh, this doesn't have anything to do with routines. And then I realized, oh, right, that was my idea, was that we're trying to streamline and minimalize and declutter as much as possible. We certainly don't live anywhere near a minimalistic lifestyle or anything like that, but we are trying to pare down whenever possible. So that room that now has the calyx unit in it, oh my goodness, that was a massive pile of stuff that from all the different rooms. As we cleaned every room, we would put it, that was kind of like our basement catch-all room that wasn't developed yet. So it had a bunch of stuff in it. So we had to get rid of all that stuff in order to put the calyx unit up and make it into a proper workout room. What I'm doing here is this chipboard set came with this set of numbers, and I'm not a fan of sets of numbers because I almost never use them. I don't list things. I don't number things. It's just not something I do in my journaling or in my storytelling. So I'm just using them as a design element here. I'm just running them across the base of this photo. And as you can see, I'm just working in from either side so that I don't end up with too much space at the end or too little space at the end. And it just goes from 1 through to 9. And then I do have the 10th one that I'll use somewhere else in a second. You'll see where it shows up. At this point, I don't know where I'll use the 10. I do want to put that little sun in the sky of the photo of Scott on the skateboard. But first, I'm just going to write calyx unit for my scrapbooks and underline that. I just wrote it with my Sharpie pen. And now this is more of the same story here because I've got, these are the bedroom furniture that we bought that I talked about in that routines card. Oh, I'm mixing it up a little bit. I'll put the sun on this one since I already knew where it was going. Again, that's that Tombow Mono multi-adhesive. And I wish I had just left it like this. Leave it, Tracy. Don't do what comes next. But I'm thinking, I know, I should underline this. And I imagined it being kind of like really thin outlining and messy, but it ended up being really thick outlining and messy. So not the nicest, but it's okay. It's only one card among the pages and pages of hundreds of cards in my project life, so it doesn't really matter. So then I just stuck those 2 photos onto a 4x6 grid card, which is what I do when I'm placing 2 3x4 cards in the pocket of a 4x6. It just helps them to stay in their intended spots. So I pulled out, I think 3 or 4 of those cards all at once so that I could do that with all of the 3x4s that belong in 4x6 pockets. Might as well do it all together. And I'll flip those 2 around just for a little bit more balance. And I'm feeling pretty good that I've used almost everything. But look, I wish I could use this loving. And I thought, you know what? I can use this loving. This is my favorite card in the whole kit. And I realized, how could I have not used my favorite card in the whole kit? This isn't right. So I just cut the word loving off of it and just laid it across the bottom. I actually really like how that, it does cover up my cat, which was in one of the photos. But other than the fact that it covers up my adorable cat, I really like how it emphasizes the furniture now, and it gets rid of some of that clutter and the weird angles that the floor was making with the furniture because I had taken the photos at weird angles. So that, I like that. And then if I had a place to put the 10, I just put it in the center of the O in loving. So as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of leftovers from this kit after these 2 pages plus 1 insert that I scrapped with this kit. So again, the kit that I was using both for this video and the one before it is the Ali Edwards Story by the Month kit for June of 2020. This kit starts at $13.99 with a 12-month subscription, and then it does become more expensive if you have less of a commitment. And you can go month to month as well, although that is the most expensive option for buying it. So as you can see, I'm just having a look at any of these stickers that might have spots to kind of improve the story and also to use up the stickers. I will just take all of my leftovers and put them in my stash. That's something that I do at the end of the month and when the new kit comes. I actually haven't received my July kit yet. It's very early in July, so I won't get it because I'm in Canada until probably midway through the month. But here are the close-ups of this page. I like how this one came together, and I like how it documents these stories. Again, this is a pretty typical week for us. Not a whole lot happened, although the anniversary and the return to work were some pretty big stories. Nice to have the option to just kind of tell those stories right within the day-to-day page of my project life. And as you can see, this is what the flaps look like. That's the one on the first page, and the other one was the one on the second page. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this process video. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.